Hey, what's up guys, it's DarkArmedDuelist and technically doing an S4 deck profile. So I'm really excited to do this for you guys because this deck is an extremely fun deck to play because all of your S4 monsters have unique column effects, which is just really amazing. This deck is also really great to be able to play because we recently just got a Link 1 S4 Night Chaser, which increases the power level of this deck by a lot. So without further ado, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and definitely check out the Patreon on the description below for all those awesome rewards. Like getting your name scratched in a single video, getting assigned cards in the mail, and even getting to request a deck profile every single month to your Patreon. So without further ado, let's get straight on into this. So first off, we're going to be playing 3 copies of S-Force Rappa. This card is one of the best cards in the entire deck, with the ability that each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters can only target that monster for attacks. And quick effect, you can banish an S-Force card from your hand and return this card back to your hand, and if you do, special summon an S-Force monster from your deck in defense position except another copy of this card, which is a great effect to be able to use because a lot of our S-Force monsters actually are high level monsters, making it super easy to get them on your side of the field with Rappa's effect. So this card is definitely a 3 of in the build. We then play 3 copies of Retroactive. Retroactive is a really cool card in the deck because it has an awesome ability that if a monster that you control would be used for the link material of an S-Force monster, this card in your hand can also be used as a material. And during the main phase, quick effect, you can return this card back to your hand, and if you do, special summon a level 2 or higher S-Force monster from your hand. And if an S-Force monster that you control would banish a card from your hand to activate its effect, you can banish this card from your graveyard instead. So this card kind of catches all of your S-Force monsters effects payments, which is really nice. This card is absolutely amazing as a 3 of in the deck because it helps you get your S-Force monsters from your hand on your side of the field, but it also lets you banish it from the graveyard for cost, which is really nice. We then play 3 copies of Gravitino. Gravitino is one of the best cards in the deck with your copy of Rappa because it has the ability each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters is banished when it leaves the field, which is a really good effect. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can add an S-Force card from your deck to your hand, making this card a searcher, which is just really nice to get to the exact card that you need. We then play 2 copies of Edgerazor. Edgerazor is really good in the deck because it has the ability that each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters cannot be used as material for a link summon of a link 3 or higher monster, which is a great effect, especially if you're going up against a deck that's going to be link summoning like crazy. This card is a card you want to get on the field as quickly as possible. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can special summon one S-Force monster from your hand in attack position except another copy of this card. I actually consider playing this card as a 3 of in the deck, but I included some other spicy tech cards, just keeping this card at 2. We then play 2 copies of S-Force Professor. This card is actually an amazing card in the deck, and I have to give a quick shout out to one of my friends, Javier, who actually suggested this card to me. But this card is really good in the deck because it's actually an E-Telly target that's going to help you step into your copy of your Night Chaser even easier in the deck. So this card is definitely a 2 of in the deck. It's just a really cool card in this particular build to bring out with your copy of E-Telly. But it has a pretty good effect that each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters cannot change its battle position, and if this card is normal or special summon, you can target a face-up monster your opponent controls and change its battle position, which is really good because if your opponent has a high attack point monster on the field, you can just change it to defense position so you don't have to worry about it because they're not changing it back to attack as long as you have a copy of Professor on the field. We then play 2 copies of Platina. Platina is just really good as a 2 of in the deck. You don't really need 3 copies of this card. It's each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters loses 600 attack. And if this card is normal or special summon, you can target one of your banished S-Force monsters and actually special summon it back to your side of the field, which is a pretty good effect. We then play just a single copy of Lapswell. Lapswell is just really good as a 1 of in the deck. If this card is special summon, you can actually target an S-Force monster in your graveyard and special summon it. You can also banish one S-Force monster from your hand to destroy all of your opponent's monsters in the same column as S-Force monsters, which is a crazy powerful effect to be able to use with this card. We then play a single copy of Dog Tag. Dog Tag is insane in the deck. It just helps you extend your play, so this card is definitely a 1 of in the build. We then play a single copy of Orphis. Orphis Duelist is just really good as a 1-of in the deck, and you really only need a single copy of this card because your opponent cannot target any of their monsters in the same columns as your S-Force monsters with card effects, and when a monster that your opponent controls activates its effect, quick effect, you can banish one S-Force card from your hand and destroy that monster, which is a pretty good pop effect. We then play 3 copies of Parallel XZ. Parallel XZ is just great as an extender in the deck because you do have Night Chaser now, which is a single normal summon to make this card, and then you can summon out 2 Parallel XZs to your side of the field, which is really, really nice because Parallel XZ has the ability, if you link summon, you can special summon it to a zone that link monster points to. It does half its level and attack points, but you also get to summon an additional Parallel XZ from the deck, which is just going to extend your plays even further, which is just really nice. So this card is definitely a 3-of in the deck. We then play 3 copies of Ash Blossom. Ash Blossom's insane in this deck to be able to stop your opponent from touching the deck and is a really awesome card in this particular build. We then play 3 copies of Shifter. Shifter is really good as a 3-of in the deck because you do want to banish your opponent's cards, and your deck doesn't really care if your cards get banished. It really just depends on the columns with this particular build, so this card is insane at shutting down your opponent's graveyard. So that's going to do it for the monsters, guys. Let's get into the spells. So for the spells, we're going to start off with a single copy of Terraforming. Terraforming is really good as a 1-of in the deck to be able to get to a copy of Bridgehead. We then play a single copy of Rhoda. Rhoda is really good in this deck to be able to search out the exact card that you need, which is just really good because this card can actually search your copy of Rappa, which is amazing to instantly get to your copy of Rappa because it's the warrior of the deck. We then play 3 copies of E-Telly. E-Telly is a definite 3-of in the deck to be able to special summon out your copy of your Professor directly from your deck to your side of the field, which is the only Psychic we're playing in the deck, but I really like playing 2 copies of the Professor, so you always have a target for your copy of E-Telly to instantly get on the field, so you can go for your copy of Night Chaser. We then play 3 copies of Bridgehead. Bridgehead is insanely powerful and a definite 3-of in the build, because this card has the ability, when this card is activated, an S-Force monster from your deck to your hand. And when an opponent's monster declares an attack on your S-Force monster in the same column, then you can activate this effect that monster you control cannot be destroyed by battle, and you can only effect this card once per turn. You can only activate this card once per turn as well, but this card is really good to be able to search out the exact S-Force that you need and protect your S-Force monsters, which is just really, really nice. So that's going to do it for these spells, guys. Let's get into the traps. So for the traps, we're going to start with 2 copies of S-Force Chase. S-Force Chase is really cool, and what's really cool about the lore is it's actually a Night Chaser that's actually chasing after Rappa and IP, which is really cool in the lore, and I love that about this card. It's really an amazing card because it has a great ability that you target face-up cards that your opponent controls up to the number of S-Force monsters that you control with different names and return them back to the hand, making this a massive bounce. And if S-Force monster you control would banish a card from your hand to activate its effect, you banish this card from your graveyard instead, just like your copy of Retroactive, which is just really good in this particular build to be able to pay the cost with these cards. We then play 3 copies of There Can Be Only One. There Can Be Only One is really a powerful card right now, and this card is insane in this deck. You do play quite a few Cyverse monsters, but if you activate this card after you've made your board, this card is just really insane because all of your S-Force monsters are different types. From your copies of Rappa being warriors, S-Force, your copy of Retroactive is also warrior, Gravitino is a psychic, Edgerazor is a Cyverse, your copy of Professor is a psychic, Platina is a spellcaster, Lapswell is a fiend, your copy of Dogtag is a machine, and Orphis is a copy of a Cyverse. So you have a bunch of different types in this particular deck that you can actually go through, which is really cool to be able to use because it's going to hurt the opponent a lot more than us with your copy of There Can Be Only One. So this card is a definite 3-of in the deck to be able to floodgate the opponent. So that's it for the main deck, guys. Let's get into the extra deck. So for the extra deck, we're going to start off with 3 copies of Night Chaser. You guys know it's the Link 1. It's going to be broken. This card is really good because it just takes any S-Force monster to make this card. And each of your opponent's monsters in the same column as one of your S-Force monsters cannot target the monster in the same column for attacks. And during the main phase, quick effect, you can target an S-Force monster you control and shuffle it in the deck, and then special summon a banished S-Force monster to your side of the field, which is a really good effect and why I love love playing D-Shifter in the deck so much because it actually banishes your cards, which is just really good. We then play just 2 copies of Justify. I have bumped Justify down to 2 in this particular build because we did get Night Chaser. This card is still an insanely powerful boss monster in this deck. It has a really good effect that you cannot special summon or set monsters to zones this card points to. In quick effect, you can target 1 effect monster your opponent controls and negates effects until the end of the turn. Then you can move that opponent's monster to their main monster zone that this card points to, and you can only affect this card once per turn. And at the start of the damage step, this card attacks, you manage all monsters this card points to, which is really good because you can actually get rid of 3 monsters at a time with this card's ability. We then play a single copy of Access Code. Access Code is just really good at popping multiple cards on the field, and it's an insanely powerful boss monster. We then play a single copy of Decode Talker, Heat Soul. Heat Soul is really good to be able to make in the deck. It's actually super easy to make in this build because your copy of your Night Chaser is a Cyverse monster, making it very easy to put on your side of the field. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Unicorn. Unicorn's really good at spinning cards off the field, so this card is definitely a one-of in the deck. Play a single copy of Update Jammer because you can OTK your opponent extremely easily with your copy of Access Code with this card, which is really good, especially with the amount of Cyverses we play in this deck. So this card is really easy to put on your side of the field and then make Access Code to OTK. We then play a single copy of Nightmare Phoenix to pop spells and traps. Play a single copy of the Dark Charmer. You can play the light one, but I really like the dark one in this particular build because it just works a little bit better because we have more darks in this particular deck. So this card just works a little bit better, but you can play the light charmer as well if you want to. We then play a single copy of Splash Mage. This card is a walking monster reborn, so it's a definite one-of in the deck. Play a single copy of IP Masquerade to be able to make Unicorn during the opponent's turn, plus she actually fits into the lore, which is really cool. We then play a single copy of a Linkuriboh. Linkuriboh does come in handy every so often in this particular deck, so this card is definitely a one-of in the build. And then finally, we play a single copy of our Link 2, Chaos Angel. This card is essentially a Link 2 because you don't have to use a tuner to make this card. You just have to use a light and a dark monster who their levels equal 10 to make this card, but we play so many lights and so many darks in the deck, it's just so easy to make this card that you might as well play this card because it's such a powerful boss monster for your opponent to out, because once you make this card in the deck, your opponent's pretty much going to have to kaiju to get rid of it, so it's a definite one-of in the build. So that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Definitely tell me what you think of this deck down in the comments down below, because it's a super fun deck that works with columns, and I always love decks that work with columns because it's very interesting and super fun. So without further ado, guys, that's going to do it for this one, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell in there so you can become part of the notification squad, and we'll see you guys in the next video. See you later, guys.